and with the Indiana Fever today. Unfortunately, we have the horrific, terrible news that Sophie Cunningham is officially out for the rest of the season with a torn MCL.
One frame, one fall, and a season changed. Today, we unpack the moment that set the WNBA on fire. Sophie Cunningham suffers a torn MCL, and the internet erupts over a single on-camera grin from Bria Hartley. We'll break down the play, why the clip spread so fast, what fans and players actually said, how officials handled it in real time, and what this means for the Indiana Fever moving forward. You'll hear both the allegation and the counterpoint, including Sophie's own words, so you can decide whether this was a reckless collision or a hard basketball play gone wrong. If you want balanced breakdowns that respect the game, you are in the right place. And if you like Sophie Cunningham, please subscribe right now and share this video to wish her a speedy recovery. Your support helps this community stay thoughtful, informed, and respectful.
I know Bria, and I'm actually really good friends with Bria, and I have been waiting to get on the pod and so we could talk about this because I did want to tweet it out, but I don't think that there was no ill intent. I think it was basketball play. I was just in the wrong spot at the wrong time. She fell. Like, there's no way that she would go in there and potentially try to hurt me. And so I had nothing but love for Bria. And I even told my mom, because she tweeted something. I was like, no, Mom, I get it. But I promise you that I was like, Bria and I are super cool. And she would never try to hurt me. Because there are some girls that I think might, but she wouldn't do that. And so I have nothing but love. And so I hope people stop giving Bria some heat, because I don't think she meant to do that at all.
I saw with the sequence itself. A live ball action develops with bodies moving into the lane. Cunningham plants, then pivots to get angle and balance. Hartley attacks the space, momentum taking her towards Sophie's lower body as both players converge. Contact occurs around the knee line, and Cunningham goes down immediately, clutching her leg. Teammates react, the crowd hushes, and the broadcast shifts tone from routine analysis to concern. In the moment, it reads chaotic more than malicious. Traffic in a tight window. Players arrive in a fraction of a second apart. Yet the key is geometry. When a defender's momentum intersects at the outside of a planted knee, risk skyrockets. Even if intent is neutral, the force vector is unforgiving. Trainers rush in, the bench gathers, and we get the first wave of uncertainty that always follows a sudden non-contact, a low-contact knee event. It is here the narrative forks.
The hits just keep coming for the Indiana Fever. Not unexpected that Sophie Cunningham ruled out for the season, but devastating nonetheless as the injuries just continue to pile up. Of course, Sydney Colson already out for the season, Ari McDonald out for the season, and now Sophie Cunningham out for the season. That's with Caitlin Clark still out and having been out for much of the season.
Was this poor body control in a bang-bang play or avoidable recklessness? The answer matters because knee health is career currency, and front court spacing, toughness, and leadership are built on availability. As Sophie's helped toward the sideline, you can almost feel two conversations start simultaneously. One's about the mechanics of the collision. The other's about accountability, which will soon include the most viral frame of the night. The internet did not seize on the contact first. It seized on a still. Hartley appearing to smile as Sophie's down on the hardwood. That single frame ricochets across timelines, stripped of speed, context, and ambient noise. It reads like a message. Some fans interpret it as satisfaction, others as a nervous or reflexive expression in a chaotic moment. Still photography is powerful precisely because it freezes ambiguity and invites projection. In slow motion, a face can pass through surprise, frustration, strain, or an involuntary smirk.
Listen, Sophie Cunningham was targeted, y'all. I'm telling you right now, Sophie Cunningham was targeted by Bria Hartley, and it just is what it is. It is what it is. I don't want to sit here and play games and act like, she wasn't. She was targeted by Bria Hartley, and that's just the fact of the matter. And people can act like it's not all they want. I told you guys this girl was a dirty player, and that's all she did today was show how dirty she is.
In a JPEG, it becomes a statement. Comment threads polarize instantly. Words like dirty and targeted show up next to overreaction and misread. Algorithms reward outrage, and the clip's virality outpaces any nuanced explanation. Meanwhile, the game resumes, which adds more fuel. To many, the lack of immediate whistle review reads as institutional indifference. To others, it confirms the original read. Just a hard play. This is how narratives calcify online. A frozen frame becomes Exhibit A, and people build a case around it, recruiting prior beliefs, team loyalties, and existing feuds. What gets lost early is the messy middle. The biomechanics of the play, the athlete's intent, and the reality that elite competitors' facial cues under stress are often misinterpreted by viewers watching at home, pausing, zooming, and looping. Now we separate claims from observable facts. The allegation is simple.
This is terrible. You don't want to see anybody go out, especially with an injury. And Sophie Cunningham has been kind of like the heartbeat of this team with Caitlin Clark being out. She's like the first player we actually seen come out and stand up for Caitlin Clark and have her back. So this definitely sucks. And beyond her having Caitlin Clark back, her play on the floor.
Sophie was targeted, and Hartley initiated a knee-level collision consistent with dangerous or unsportsmanlike contact. The observable facts are narrower. We know the court position, the timing, the footwork, and that momentum brings Hartley through the lane with little runway to avoid contact at the last beat. We also know that dangerous outcomes can arise without malicious intent. Basketball at speed compresses choices. A defender chasing a dive in for space may believe they have a pad, only to find that the ball handler or screener plants a millisecond earlier than predicted. That is how bad angles punish knees. The question of targeting requires evidence beyond collision mechanics. Pattern, prior conduct in the same game, verbal cues, or a clear non-basketball motion would strengthen the claim. Without that, we must hold two truths. The contact was high risk and unacceptable in effect. And intent may still be disputable.
And Sophie Cunningham's sister was none too happy about it and slammed the WNBA. Maybe you should focus less on finding players for commenting on your poor officiating and more about hiring officials that are able to call a consistent game and protect your athletes. It's pathetic. Praying for you, Sophie. That's Lindsay. That's her sister. Well, her sister made this comment, and it brought out the scumbags.
Nothing inflamed this moment more than the immediate in-game response. No flagrant upgrade, no official review on the collision, and play continuing at pace created the impression that a season-altering event was treated like routine contact. Fans point to a pattern, borderline or dangerous plays sliding through without consistent escalation, while players are fined for criticizing officiating. That asymmetry fuels distrust. The rulebook gives officials discretion to assess flagrant criteria, including severity of contact, potential for injury, and unnecessary or excessive force. When a planted knee is compromised, many expect automatic scrutiny on those factors, even if the final ruling remains common foul. Process matters. A visible review communicates care for player safety. Without it, the audience substitutes conclusions. The league protects flow over bodies. That may not be true. But perception becomes narrative.
Now look, you can tell Bree Hartley, in my opinion, she launched herself into her knee. She did. And I've seen some of the reaction online. And guys, it's despicable. It really is. There's a lot of people celebrating this injury. And guess what? You can imagine who it is. It's members of the old WNBA fandom, the ones that root for Paige Beckers and Angel Reese and Asia Wilson and all the usual damn suspects.
Sophie announcing her being out with an MCL tear, which, by the way, the MCL tear, relatively speaking, is good news because it's not an ACL tear. She's not out for like a year or anything, but she's out for the rest of this year. And they're going to miss her toughness. They're going to miss her shooting. They're going to miss her playmaking to a degree.
Context deepens impact. The Fever's year's been a rolling test of depth and resilience, with multiple players dealing with absences or limitations. In that environment, losing Sophie is not just subtracting a rotation piece. It is removing a stabilizer who bridges effort, spacing, and edge. Fatigue also magnifies risk. Lineup stretch, minutes climb, closing groups change, and the margin for error in late-game execution narrows. For fans, the accumulation of injuries begins to look like a story about officiating leniency. Even if causation's more complex, a league season is a web of micro-stresses. Travel, back-to-backs, matchup geometry, and the mental tax of constant adjustments. Teams endure it when they have reliable outlets who can steady possessions and speak for the huddle. Sophie has been one of those voices. Losing her in a year already punctured by health adversity hits culture as much as tactics.
Well, you come at Sophie's sister, you come at Sophie. And Sophie saw this comment, and bless her heart, she answered it. She answered it. Some of us were raised by the words of, quote, don't bite off more than you can chew. And some of us didn't. Quote, F around and find out. F around and find out. Kiss. God bless this woman. Yeah, seriously. She's great. But that's hilarious. That this hater out there, and there's a lot of them right now. I said yesterday they're mad because Sophie's being called a superstar and this and that and the other. Yeah, Sophie's got more pull than your Asia Wilson. I mean, Asia's on this monumental run. I literally wouldn't have known that if I hadn't stumbled across somebody that said, well, the WNBA is making Asia Wilson's late season MVP push. Sometimes, I mean, you just got to pay attention. The WNBA wants to protect certain people and certain
The silver
players.
lining, if there is one, is that adversity compresses identity. You either hunker down or drift. Indiana's best basketball this season has appeared when roles were crisp and the ball had purpose. To sustain that now, the Fever will need a new chain of trust, where each link carries a touch more weight without snapping under it. Sophie's game is a mosaic of intangibles wrapped around tangible production. Start with spacing. Her willingness to hunt corner and wing threes stretches weak side tags and opens driving lanes for guards. Add toughness. She screens with intent, fights through contact, and porks on defense. Qualities that lift collective activity even when shots do not fall. There is also timing. She knows when to cut behind ball watching, when to relocate to burn a late closeout, and when to swing immediately to keep a tilted defense wobbling. On the emotional axis, she competes loud. That animates teammates and needles opponents without spilling into distraction.
This has been an injury-riddled season for the team and Sophie Cunningham. You got to remember she had that ankle injury, which is why she's wearing an ankle brace in the game. She had that in the beginning of the season. She was dealing with an injury. She fought back, came off the bench, got into the starting lineup, and she started lighting it up for us. She was knocking down the threes. She was bringing that energy, and us fans wanted her to get more shots, and we were upset at the fact that she's standing around wide open looking for the ball, and she's just not getting the ball on a lot of these possessions.
You cannot simulate that with a clipboard. Stat sheets do not capture how a defender hesitates because Sophie might drift one step farther, or how a teammate squares shoulders quicker because they trust the extra pass will be met with readiness. In late games, these micro edges matter. Replaceability is therefore partial. You can divide minutes and shots, but knitting back the cultural fabric is harder. Coaches will try to anchor lineups around dependable creators, ask role players for 5% more aggression, and re-emphasize the little things Sophie nails: early offense space, deep corner discipline, and real communication. That's how you honor what she brings while building the next version. When injuries stack, teams either fracture or fuse. The Fever's immediate response leaned toward unity. Coach Stephanie White's message was simple and sharp. Resilience is not a slogan. It's a daily habit.
I'm officially 3 for 3 on being fined by the WNBA.
Holy shit. For this? For the pod? Again?
They didn't like my comments on Paige Becker's.
No way.
I didn't even say anything bad.
On the whistle, on the quick whistle.
Yeah. But like, why?
That ethos surfaced in their comeback against the Sun, where Indiana turned a deficit into belief with poise, pace, and timely shot-making. Comebacks are never just about scoring. They are about trust. Trust in a coverage call, in a swing pass, in a teammate's feet set at the arc. Without Sophie, the test is whether that trust persists under new pressure. Veteran voices must get a touch louder. Huddles must get cleaner. Film must get more honest. Good locker rooms metabolize pain, convert it into focus, then move. That is the assignment. You could feel it in how the bench celebrated stops, how players dapped after tough rebounds, and how the coaching staff stuck to principles instead of chasing quick fixes. That is the culture Sophie helped build. When she returns next season, the best gift the Fever can hand back is a strengthened identity forged while she was out. Connected, communicative, and hard to rattle.
But this action right here, there's a lot happening.
Yeah.
A lot happening. Grab my shirt. I'm feeling the ground.
Tina Charles gets
She didn't hit the court though. She out of bounds.
Ariel Atkins says some words to Bria, and she says she grabbed me first.
Indiana's path forward runs through elevated stars and empowered role players. Kelsey Mitchell becomes the rhythm engine, tasked with toggling between scorer and organizer without dulling either blade. That means cleaner pace control, earlier touches, and second-side actions that let her attack a bent defense rather than a set wall. Aaliyah Boston remains the gravity center. Her ability to carve deep position, punish single coverage, and spray kickouts after the catch gives the offense structure. Doubling her on the block must be met with automatic relocations and ready hands. Around them, wings and bench guards have to own the dirty work. Tip-outs, gap stunts, early nail help, and crash then sprint discipline. Minutes will rise for players whose superpower is reliability. Shooting variance will swing games, but possession battle habits should not. If Indiana wins glass, limits live ball turnovers, and keeps opponents out of bonus, they buy shot variance room. Zoom out to the discourse. The clip became a Rorschach test for fandom divides already simmering. Player stands and franchise loyalists pulled history into the moment, framing the collision through rivalry lenses that predated this game. Social media favors certainty, so hot takes won the algorithm while measured context lagged behind. That does not mean criticism of the play is invalid. It means that once a still image anchors a story, everything else is forced to orbit it. Two things can be true. The grin looks awful in isolation, and facial expressions during chaotic sequences are famously misread. The better conversation asks what systems could reduce the chances of knee-line collisions in the first place. That is where energy should go. When debates slide into personal attacks on players or families, everyone loses. The league is growing. New fans are arriving with different priors and favorite stars. The way we talk about flashpoint moments will shape whether they stay. Player safety is not a slogan. It's a framework. Define unacceptable contact categories with specificity. Create automatic review triggers for planted knee collisions. Publish short post-game explanations for decisions in high-impact incidents. Calibrate penalties to behavior, not only outcome, so players alter choices upstream. Training matters too. Teach chase-down defenders how to peel out when angles disappear. Encourage offensive players to signal screens earlier in transition drag actions. Most importantly, align communication. If players are fined for ref criticism, build parallel channels to surface concerns without public blowback. Trust grows when athletes feel heard. None of this softens the game. It clarifies it. Physicality remains, but cheap risk gets priced out. The WNBA has the opportunity to lead here. Consistent standards would de-weaponize single frames because the audience would already know how such contact is evaluated. Tactically, Indiana should simplify and sharpen. Offensively, lean into early actions that do not require complex reads. Drag screens for Mitchell, angle seals for Boston, and empty side two-man games that punish overhelp. Emphasize deep corners to preserve drive-in space and bake in automatic hero 0.5 decisions. Catch, pass, shoot, or drive within half a second. Defensively, prioritize paint protection and gang rebounding without Sophie's voice. Call coverages earlier and keep the shell compact. Personnel-wise, distribute Sophie's minutes based on fit, not only position. If a lineup balks and rebounds, keep it. Chase lineup level plus minus more than box score sparkle. Identity-wise, keep the edge. Sophie's toughness should remain a behavior standard, not a memory. And yes, the question lingers about injured stars returning on timelines the team cannot control. The response is the same either way. Win the next rotation, the next glass battle, the next late clock scramble. Here is where we land. A brutal injury, a viral frame, and a debate that touched everything from intent to officiating to culture. The play felt awful in real time because it was. Yet Sophie's own words remind us that accountability can live with grace. If you like Sophie Cunningham, please subscribe and share this video to wish her a full and speedy recovery. Drop your view in the comments. Hard basketball play misread in a single still. Or reckless contact that should have triggered review and a stronger response. Keep it respectful. This channel grows because you show up with curiosity, not cruelty. Thank you for watching, for thinking the game with us, and for standing for player safety and great basketball.